Howdy folks. Last time around we were looking at the power supply and the fact that it was not delivering minus 12. So this turned out to be fairly non-trivial. I wound up tracing out everything here, and I also mapped it out in KiCad, however you pronounce that. I'll link to the post below where I will have schematics, PCB layout, all of that good stuff, as well as a bunch of information about what connects to what, how the nets work, and all that good stuff. Because, yeah, I now know way more about this power supply than I ever wanted to. But long story short, the power supply in the board now works, which is a good thing. And hopefully the secondary power supply, the one that I drew all over, still works as well. I don't really know what impact Sharpie is going to have on a PCB, but we'll save that for another video. So just to show that we do indeed have what we would expect, we should have ground and ground, and this one's 5, this one's positive 12, this one is negative 12, this is another ground, this one is 5, this one is 5, and then the next two both should be low. One of them is the power OK, and the other one is the reset line. Both of those are low. All right, so the problem we are seeing is, if we slip this guy up here so you can see it, I hope. Let's get an angle that doesn't have a bunch of light on you. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, you can see right here that we just have a bunch of boxes. So that's not really what we want, and we are not successfully booting. So we are going to play with diagnostic mode. Now, I happen to know, before I made this video, that diagnostic mode here does work. So there's a whole different troubleshooting procedure, which I'll probably have to go through on the other board to figure out what to do when you don't have diagnostic mode working. But for this one, I'll turn that off. And to get into diagnostic mode, oh yeah, I should also mention, you can probably see the cables running up here to the display, and then the display happens to also be down here. This is the display from the other board. I pulled it out for a couple of reasons. One was just to make sure that the display and button board weren't the problem, and the other one is so that all you wonderful people out there can see what's going on, and I don't have to take the other board out of its home. So if we hold down C and play pause. This is C. These are A, B, and C. Interestingly, they are labeled differently here on the little board than they are on the top panel when it's assembled. But if we hold down C and play pause, then we get test mode. So hopefully you can read that. And this will be described. I'll link this below as well, kind of what all of the navigation features are. It pretty much comes down to, I think, 7 and 8 navigate up and down, 3 selects, 4 backs out. I think there are some other parameters that will make sense when you read it all. I'll link to where that's all documented. But what we want to do is start running tests one by one. So you've got self-test, LCD test, button test, MIDI test, sine waves, battery. Okay, the test selection menu lets us dig in further. So if we jump in here, then let's see, we've got the LCD visual test. Let's go ahead and run that. We only want it to do it one time. So you can see here that it's running through all of the characters that it can possibly display on the screen. and just testing out, making sure it can display all the fonts. Uppercase, lowercase will be coming up next. So there it tells you that it did one pass, it didn't have any errors, and now we're back to the menu. So yay, something works. Let's see, let's get back to the test selection menu. I'm going to skip the button test here because I know this doesn't work and I'm not sure why. What the button test is supposed to do is every button you push should display its function on the screen. And then if you press no, which is I think one of these, a couple of times, it should exit out of it. I've verified that most of the buttons work just because I can do the navigation, but the button test never responds to anything and doesn't let you back out of it. So we're going to skip it for now. Let's try the program ROM test. So we'll do a single pass on the program ROMs. All right, really quick. That one passed, no errors. Back to the main menu. Okay, let's try these setup ROMs. Let's see if they're any good. Single pass. All right, single pass, no errors, and back to the main menu. And let's try the RAM. Single pass. And we have a U30 error on the RAM, address 80,001 or so. And here's some bits that didn't work. So one pass, one error, and RAM failed. So that's not really a great sign. It's especially fun because the RAM chips are soldered onto the board. They're not something that's just sitting in a socket that we can wiggle. So one thing I wanted to test is whether or not the RAM chips at least have something something going on every pin. I'm not positive what each of the pins should read, you know, just because they're doing a lot of communication. But I want to make sure that there's some sort of activity and see if we can surface anything here. And if not, well, I mean, either way, we'll probably wind up just trying to reflow them will probably be the first thing we'll do. And then if that doesn't work, we'll pull RAM chips out of the other board and start playing games there with swapping the chips. And unfortunately, I don't know if the chips in the other board are good either. So we're gonna wind up doing a little bit of just blind swapping there if that's what we have to do. But before we get that far, let's get this out of the way here. All right, then we can just go through and start poking at things. So that looks like a 5-volt rail. It's 5 volts. All right, this has got some kind of a signal. Let's play around with it a bit, see if we can get a better look at it. All right, it's kind of cool looking. Let's do some comparison and make sure that the two chips look the same. So 5 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts. When you're doing this, you want to be more careful than I am. You want to make sure you're never ever crossing pins because you're going to break something. All right, there's our cool little step function. Same thing on the other one. Alright, just a little bit of activity there. Yep. Okay, there's our step again. Okay. Same thing there. This one. And then just like less than a volt. Alright, same on the other one. Back to a little function there. Looks like 5 volts there. Different little waveform there. What was this guy? One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, you're looking a little different. Okay, interesting. Right. All right, I'll be honest here. I'm doing a little bit of just stabbing around in the dark, hoping that something jumps out at me as particularly wrong, but not knowing what these are supposed to test out at makes this a little bit more challenging. And then that's ground. So it seems like, okay, this one's ground. We've got at least some kind of activity on every pin. But that doesn't necessarily tell me that they're all actually connected to the board. It just tells me that it's internally connected. I'm just tapping the probe here in case you're wondering what's going on there. So yeah, I think the next step is going to have to be taking power off of the system, removing the board here, and seeing if we can reflow any of the connections. Actually, maybe before doing that, try a little bit of a Hail Mary here and see if just, I don't know, pressing on the RAM chips or somehow otherwise attempting to seat them more solidly will help with the issue that we're seeing here. Because that'll at least confirm if something is loose. So let's make sure y'all can see what's going on. So I'll bring this back up here where you can see it. Make sure you can read that. All right. I gotta get in here so that I can read it. All right, so put some pressure on these, try to stay on the plastic. And let's see, selection, and RAM test. Number of passes 1. Errors out immediately. All right. Let's just try something else here. Try these one at a time. Doesn't feel loose at all, in case you were curious. Same immediate error. Let's try other one. Okay. Yeah, I don't even think... Well, I'll take a look at how bad it looks like it's going to be on the other side, and I'll decide if I'm going to try reflowing them, or if I just want to start yanking the chips and replacing them with the ones from the other board, which really does sound like a giant pain in the ass. But what else are you going to do if you want the thing to work, right? All right, let's get to it. That is just terrible design right there. There is, I'm not sure if you can see it, there is a tiny nut right here, and another one right under here that appear to hold the jacks to a small mounting piece that looks to be bent up out of the base. Let me make sure. Actually, feels like there might be a couple of screws that hold that on the bottom, and we might be able to take it out from the bottom without having to take those nuts off up here. So let's give that a shot. So we'll set this guy out of the way. So hopefully taking these two out gets us access. Where did that go? Okay. Yep. And board is now loose, which severely limits the number of hands I have available to do things. All right. Everything back up out of the way here. Get back in frame for you. Now, that just lifts right out. All right, well, that wasn't so bad. You can see the panel here, and you can see the real convenient, nuts on those. All right, so if what we're concerned about here, don't ever handle motherboards without anti-static shielding and all that good stuff. Okay, so RAM chips, which nothing's really jumping out at me as broken here. I don't see anything that looks burned, anything like that. Poking around on the board here a little bit, just looking to see if anything's jumping out. On the other board, it's burned up right here by R32, and there's a guy on the Facebook group that has a burn on the top of C138 here as well. So that's apparently a common failure mode that I'll have to figure out, but this board does not appear to be demonstrating those symptoms anyway. So I think what we're going to have to do, let's look at the bottom. All right, so here's our 2 RAM chips here. Doesn't honestly look like there's a ton of, let's see, it's these 2, right? Yep. Doesn't look like there's a whole ton of solder on there, but all the pins do look like they're soldered enough. I don't see anything really obviously cracked, obviously discolored. But I think out of an abundance of laziness here, I am going to go ahead and try reflowing them and then powering it back up and seeing what happens before I go through all the effort of taking them out. All right. I'm not seeing the solder reflowing here. That's why I'm just kind of poking around randomly. I'm curious if this is a higher temperature solder here than it has on the on the power supply. Let's see. I think I'll need to come in from the other side to get those, so I'm going to see if I can do this right over here. Let's see, it actually looks like I can probably get to all the other 3 rows from the other side, so instead of trying to be left-handed here, I'll just turn that around. And so this is the row I already did. So now I should be able to get to the others. I'm just looking at the angle of the pins. All right, so the next thing I want to do is take a pass over all of the pins and see if any of them wiggle and need more solder. So I need to find an appropriate poking tool. Probably can't really see any difference here, but still don't like that one pin right there. It's got solder on it though. Let's give it a shot, see what it does. And now we will try this one more time. Oop. Helps if you plug it in. And that looks about the same. Okay, looks like we're not going to have any choice other than to yank the RAM out of the other board and give that a try. And if that works, we'll have to order some more RAM chips. But I think that is enough for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and edit this down and post it, and we will approach pulling the chips out of the other board, I don't know, tomorrow, next couple of days. We'll see when I've got time again. So, thanks as always for watching, and we will see you next time.